Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Hari Gopi Janavallabha Girivara Gopi Janavallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarana Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarana Yamuna Tira Vanacha Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Gopi Janavallabha Girivara Hari Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarana Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Anantagotti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinatha ki jai. Prantaraja Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande. This is the only temple in the whole world where there's a shelf that comes out of the yaśo to hold harmony. It's a special feature of Radhadesh. Nice to be here in Radhadesh again. Nice to see you all. I wasn't planning to sit here this morning. Don't mind. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa-kalamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta-pada-kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sarajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Savaraitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Kshetra Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamcha Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhiraya nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti nashiki. His Holiness Yadunandan Swami unfortunately is not feeling so well this morning, so I'm a poor substitute for him. Apparently he was planning to speak on this verse, and so I thought, okay, if that's the verse, then let us go with it. We can take it that way. And it's a wonderful verse, and it's a very famous verse. So let's chant together. This is from first canto, chapter 5, text number 11. The chapter is called Narada's Instructions on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo. tad-vāg-visargo tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo. Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. Nāmāny anantasya yaśo ṅkitāni yat. Nāmāny anantasya yaśo ṅkitāni yat. śṛṇvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ. śṛṇvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ.
tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo. Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. nāmāny anantasya yaśo ṅkitāni. śṛṇvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ. tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo. Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. nāmāny anantasya yaśo ṅkitāni. śṛṇvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ. tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo. Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. nāmāny anantasya yaśo ṅkitāni. śṛṇvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ.
Yasmin prati-ślokam abaddhavaty. Śṛṛvanti gāyanti gṛṇanti sādhavaḥ.
tad-vāg-visargo janatāgha-viplavo.
does this mean? Word for word, tat, that, vak, vocabulary, visargo, creation, janata, the people in general, aga, sins, viplavo, revolutionary. Devotees are revolutionaries. Yasmin, in which, prati-ślokam, each and every stanza, abaddhavaty, irregularly composed, abhi, in spite of, nāmāny, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord, yaśo, glories, ṅkitāni, depicted, yet, what? śṛṇvanti, do hear, gāyanti, do sing, gṛṇanti, do accept, sādhavaḥ, the purified men who are honest, and the women. Everyone repeated. That's not in the word for it. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. Translation. On the other hand, because this is following the previous verse, on the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is of a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. This is one of the more famous translations of Śrīla Prabhupada, I would say, because especially he talks about revolution. But for other reasons as well. And there's a very wonderful purport. We'll see how far we get with it. It's a bit long. Purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best, even from the worst. Yeah. Which reminds me of what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his essay about the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from 1869, one of his earliest writings, in which he is defending the Bhagavatam against you could say, learned rejectors of the Bhagavatam. It's a wonderful essay called The Bhagavatam, its philosophy its ethics, and its theology. I think that's the title. And there he talks about two kinds of readers. I won't remember the terms he uses, but one is superficial readers, and the other are deep readers. So the superficial readers are those who say, what is this, some old... And the deep readers are those who take what they read and they don't reject it, but they develop it. They go from wherever the text is and they develop. And that reminds me of something I heard just yesterday from His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami, giving this wonderful series on the Bhagavatam. Let's see if I can remember. Purapi navam iti puranam. It's a nirukti definition of Purana, which says that although it is old, pura api, navam, it is new. Although it's old, it's new. Puranas are not just outdated, they are very much relevant for us. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. Sounds like Chanakya Pandit. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place, without exception, which means he's talking here about what may be called samanya dharma. There's swadharma, which is one specific dharma, and there's samanya dharma, which means general, it's for everyone. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change, and as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. Imagine that. Sane. Hard to imagine, huh? People will become sane in their transactions. Wouldn't that be nice? If the world would become sane? No?
Yes, it would be nice.
Would be nice. Okay. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we have a crisis before us. So here Srila Prabhupada he's going to give us a bit of history. He would have been writing this in the early 1960s, or late 50s, I'm not sure. So anyway, at that time, so now he's going to explain. Our neighboring friend, China, has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. And he goes on to discuss that in some detail. Once, many years ago, I was in Nepal, and I met devotees there, and they invited me to, a small group of brahmacharis invited me to join them for traveling Sankirtan for a week. And, well, that's kind of another story, that I had this big van full of books, and we would come into a village, and they would just open the back of the van. It was a truck, actually, and they had a book display there. And then they would just stay there, and people would all come from the village. Because it was far out. What's going on? We never see this. And they would sell a few books, small books, and devotees explained that most of the people don't read. But those who could read, they would buy a book. And then they would be, he said, you can expect that they will read aloud to the other people in the village. Isn't that nice? Eventually we came up to the border of Nepal and China. And there was a bridge. And a couple of us, one morning, next morning I think, we took a japa walk and we started walking across the bridge. And some soldiers started walking toward us from the other side. We turned around. And then Prabhupada says, we had practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness. And every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted, and simple. And there was no question of political diplomacy. Hard to imagine now. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land, which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But, due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. You know this word, provocation? What's the Dutch word for provocation?
Provocatie.
Provocatie, okay. En français?
Provocation.
Provocation? Ah oui? Merci. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to, and then in italics, to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. End italics. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all over the world. I'm again just reminded, don't mind, because I'm a substitute speaker, right? So I can, nothing planned. To propagation by section of people to stop glory. There's a systematic. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Prabhupada's conclusion in countless purports is therefore Sankirtan, right? Some years ago, I was in Berkeley. I was studying at Graduate Theological Union, and I was invited with one other senior devotee to attend one ceremony where one of the a new president of not the whole college, but one of the seminaries within the college was being installed, and this was happening in a church, a Christian church, a Baptist church, and so it was it was like a church service in many ways, and it included a choir, the San Francisco Gay Choir. Hare Krishna. They were really good. Their singing was incredible. And I was with Brahmatirtha Prabhu. He's famous as Bob Cohen for perfect questions, perfect answers. And we were listening, and he said, "Wow, this is kirtan. This is sankirtan," because it was, glorifying the Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace of the world. Okay, it's not our responsibility. We're not Indians. What do you say? Huh?
Rebaptized.
Rebaptized. Vaisheshika Prabhu a few days ago said that in 2024, worldwide, devotees have distributed 5 million Bhagavad Gitas. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Haripu. Well, he's speaking about Indians because he's talking about this China-Indian conflict. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. Another thing comes to mind. On the east of Mumbai, there's an area called Navi Mumbai. And within that area, there's a township, I guess, called Kargar. And there, devotees have just opened a huge temple, complex. You've seen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the Prime Minister of India was there. So, yeah. So, but I was told a bit of the backstory of his coming. Do you want to hear?
Of course.
So he was scheduled to come, but his secretary, whatever, was saying, "We're not committing until you get the signed document." I don't know how they knew this, that they needed one document from the local government to open. And so that was a bit of a problem because the government sent a letter only 2 days before the opening should happen. saying, oh, by the way, you owe 4.2 crores rupees to us, taxes. A crore is 10 million. 10 million rupees times like 42 million rupees. It's a lot of money. It's 5 million euros maybe. I don't know, it's a lot of money. The temple president got on the phone and started calling congregation members. And within a few hours he had the money. So maybe we should make friends with that temple president.
Modi did the puja to Prabhupada there. He was offering himself for Gṛṇanti.
Yeah. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart. And naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the world. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. What's the famous Bhagavad Gita verse? Yat-abaddhavaty. That's one verse we know. If only the leaders would know that verse. Maybe they do know it, and that's why there's a problem. Okay. The mass of people in general, no. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, we read that. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies, despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. It's interesting. What is the qualification for writing transcendental literature? Honesty. Honesty. And that's in the verse, in Prabhupada's word for word, he's translating sādhavaḥ, which is plural of sadhu, as the purified men who are honest. Interesting. When there is a fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet, without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. Of course, if they smell smoke and so on, I guess they would understand as well. But, okay. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. What is the same spirit of cooperation?
Conveying the message even though not being fully capable of expressing oneself.
Yeah. Yeah. He turns it into a spirit of cooperation. Oh, your neighbor's house is on fire. Let's go help. So we're calling out, our house is on fire. Please help. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values. And thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. And there's another paragraph. Shall I keep reading?
Yeah.
Okay. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. So what's the reason for provocation and attacks? Too many materialistic activities. That is the rule of this age of Kali, or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There's an organization which measures national corruption. You can find them on the internet. And they rate the countries of the world in terms of how corrupt they are. Have you seen?
Yes. Scandinavian countries are very, very high.
Yeah, very low corruption. And at least 1 year Bangladesh was on the bottom. Was the most corrupt. And India was like number 70 or something. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. Yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in of course, this is before the internet probably was writing this. I'm sure if the internet was going on, he would be writing about that as well. The people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct. It's a natural instinct to read. Except nowadays people don't read, they just watch videos, right? And this is the exercise. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. People will be interested because purapi navam iti puranam, right? What did that mean?
Although it's still new.
It's new, yeah. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. I wonder if doctors would agree with that. Similarly, sometimes I'm a little irreverent, don't mind. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. How does the verse start in the nectar of devotion? Syat Krishnam charitari sitapya vidya pitopatapta rasanasya rochakaya kintvada anudinam every day kintvada anudinam kalasagajushta svabi kramat bhavati tat gadamula tree mula, from the root, it's going to remove this diseased jaundice condition by the root. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to society, will then automatically cease. We are sure, Prabhupada concludes, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Very kindly appeared in this chapter. And who is he speaking to?
Yes.
Who is Narada speaking to?
Yasa.
Yasa. He's speaking to Yasa, which is my seg. Let's see. Okay, I hope you'll indulge me to read something that I wrote. This shouldn't take too long. I've been encouraging devotees to write reflections on something from the third canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We're preparing a book of their writings. And since I was asking others to write, I also wrote something which I would like to read, if you will bear with me. No?
Yeah.
No. Okay. This is called, and this is, the relation is, it's about Vyasadeva. This is called Breathing in Vaikuntha in Badarikashram. Oh Master, blessed Shripad, please come now. Bless us again with your presence and take your one meal of the day, your rotis and gourd sabji. You have been here in your cave all of yesterday, through the night and through the whole morning. It is now high noon. A fresh breeze rises from the Alakananda as its waves playfully reflect the autumn sun's rays, dispelling the lingering fog. You write and write, silent but for the scratching sound of a stylus on a palm leaf, silent but for an occasional exclamation, followed by soft words, as if you converse with a close friend in confidence. Ever since that tall, mischievous-looking, red-headed, singing wanderer, you called him deferentially Master Narada. Ever since he appeared from seemingly nowhere, and you and he conferred all evening at the Yag-mandapa, motioning us, your senior brahmachari shishas, away. Ever since then, when after your conversation with him, Master Narada informed us that you are to be known as Vyasa, the analyzer, distributor of wisdom, ever since then, your eyes became brighter than ever, almost piercing the pages as you inscribe on them your expansive vision, as if time and space roll back and suspend their usual measures in anxious anticipation. Please come, please share with us more of your vision as you often so kindly do. We continuously savor all that you have shared with us thus far. Some days ago, you revealed that you had begun composing the third of your 12-part story, what you like to call the beautiful story of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We recall how one day we overheard you, Master Vyasa, alternately crying and laughing in your cave. We, Sumantu and I, dared to barge in on you to see if you needed something. You simply smiled with wet eyes and said, "Try to understand how Uddhava felt after Lord Krishna's departure." You urged us, as you then rapidly recalled for us Krishna's adventures, in brief, as if you were yourself Uddhava, remembering and telling. We recall how you laughed loudly as you reported how Uddhava expressed wonderment at Krishna's kindness to Putana, a would-be murderess employed eternally as child Krishna's nursemaid in his eternal realm. You had us all memorize your beautiful strophe that summarizes this story and highlights Uddhava's sense of wonder. Aho bhakiyam stanakala kurtam. We remember how, on another day, we again heard you laughing, this time even louder than before, seeming to echo a deep joy throughout the valley. When we peered into your cave, we beheld you dancing, spinning about in a wild sort of way. When you finally calmed down, you kept repeating, Varaha, 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 Raha, Raha, Ha, Ha, Ha. And then you exclaimed gleefully, "From Brahma's nostril! God appeared from Brahma's nostril!" And again, you doubled over, shaking with laughter. Then suddenly, you would become quiet and sober, shaking your head and furrowing your brow, saying, "But who will believe it? Who will believe it?" And how could we forget? It must have been the day after you told us the story of Diti and Kashyapa that you again remained in your cave for 3 days, refusing all our entreaties that you come for your repast. We all became so worried, yet we dared not disturb your meditation. Then, just as we were finishing the evening homa, suddenly you emerged from your cave and announced with an inviting smile, "Boys, now we're going to perform a drama." You assigned parts. You had the 4 youngest boys act as the 4 Kumaras, but keeping their clothes on since it was quite cold by then. Indra, Pramiti, and Bhaskara, the 2 tallest older boys, became Jai and Vijay, and to my great embarrassment, you had me act as Lord Narayan. You explained each part, what we were to do and say, and then you would have us act out the sketch as best we could. We were thrilled. You were immersed in the role of stage manager and director, interrupting and correcting us, having us repeat our lines with appropriate emphasis, and sometimes you would change our lines as we went along. Sometimes you would have us stop mid-scene, hold right there, and we would freeze like a junkie, which is Hindi for tableau vivant. And while we stayed like that, especially as Jai and Vijay would obstruct the Kumara's way with angry expressions, you became thoughtful, like you were working out in your mind how the pastime should be. And you would sometimes scowl, not satisfied with your own arrangement. We must have gone through the action well over a dozen times. Finally, suddenly, you exclaimed, "That's it! That's it! I see!" And then, still without eating anything, you hastened back to your cave to record your vision, leaving us wondering and discussing among ourselves the meaning of this wondrous encounter among the 4 child sages, the 2 doorkeepers, and the 1 Lord Narayan. After a while, you would come back out, and seeing the confused, inquisitive expression on our faces, you would sit us all down and explain. Quote, "You see, boys, my thoughts were churning, but it seemed to me that only poisonous notions were coming to the surface rather than the nectar that must be hidden in the depths of my heart. How to properly describe this episode for the good of all? It is such a crucial turning point in the history of our world. Some aspects didn't make complete sense to me, and I needed to understand them clearly before I could compose them, so that the Lord's sublime character and perfect purposes would be clearly comprehensible. I found myself praying intently to our revered master Narada, when the idea came to me, I believe by Narada's grace, and with your help, to have you boys play out the story, to enact the drama. And it worked by your performance, improvised as it was, and after several attempts, as we made adjustments, I suddenly felt that I understood everything." And that's, he stopped speaking, and then you, Yaśo, very excitedly recited a verse that you had just composed, epitomizing this vision, and you urged us to memorize it, to make it kantastha, fixed in the throat. Tasyara vinda nayanasya padara vinda kinjaka-mishra tulasi makaranda vayu antargata savita ena chakara tesham sankshogam akshara apichitta tango. A breeze fragrant with tulsi and saffron on the lotus-like toes of the lotus-eyed Lord wafted within through our nostrils, shaking to the core their bodies and minds, though inclined toward the inalterable Brahman. We know that you are always relishing deeply the nectar of the verses like this that you compose, and we relish every word you share with us about the mysterious workings of the Lord's varied pastimes. But, dear Shripad, we beg to remind you that one of these powers, as you have taught us, is the Lord's grace in the form of his food remnants. So we beseech you, please, please come and have your lunch. And if it pleases you, we may then massage your legs as you recline and rest before resuming the recording of your glorious meditations. Hare Krishna. pure speculation. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I guess. Unless there's, yes, comment.
Could you unpack this sentence from the Purport? After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values.
Can I what?
Explain, elaborate,
Explain.
unpack it. It sounds
okay.
technical science of spiritual values.
Well, my first thought is ado shraddha tata sadhu sango tato vajanakrita, that Srila Rupa Goswami gives us a map, you could say, for the practice of bhakti, or we could say his entire Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or we could say the first 19 chapters, or we could, there are many ways, I think. You could say the Upadeshamrita is a kind of technical science. Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's use of the word science is a bit different from how modern science uses it. But that's not something I can speak about off the top of my head on Wednesday morning. Technical, it's a technical science, but in the next line Prabhupada says techniques, there are techniques. So what are these techniques? Well, you could say it refers to the entire process of sadhana bhakti. And as we know, sadhana bhakti is, from Rupa Goswami, it has two aspects, vaidhi and raga anuga. And they're both sadhana. And they're not in two different universes. You know? I think we tend to think they're like in two different universes, but I would say there is raga as soon as there is some attraction to Krishna, however little that attraction is. So then there's the immediate question, what do I do to increase my attraction for Krishna, for service? Oh. And then we have the whole 9 processes. We have 64 activities, and so on. That's what comes to mind at the moment. And then it's scientific in the sense that it brings a result. What is the result? Well, first of all, detachment from all things. Shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. What is it? Satam prasangam mahavirya samvido bhavanti rit karna rasayana krata. Tad-joshana ashvapavargamar. Ashu means quickly. And the upavarga, going on the upavarga path. Not the pavarga, the upavarga path, the path of liberation. Shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. Or, another way it's put is in the 11th canto, chapter 2, maybe. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra chaisha trika eka kala prapadyamanasya yatashnatasya tushti pushti kshupapayo anugasam. With every bite, anugasam, or bite after bite. When we eat, and I should not hold you back from breakfast time, when we eat three things happen simultaneously, right? So tushti, there's satisfaction. Pushti, what means pushti?
Nourishment.
Exactly, nourishment. And kshut apaya. Kshut means hunger, and apaya is removal of hunger. So bhakti paresha anu, what is it? Bhakti paresha anu. Now I forgot the verse. Anubhava virakta. Yeah. So bhakti brings, I don't know, I think they're lined up like that. Bhakti brings tushti. Paresha anubhava, experience. Anubhava is experience. Para isha of the Supreme Lord. And virakti is vairagya. So each one brings some result. So you can say that's what Prabhupada means by science. Yeah, that's of course, that one sentence is something you could do a whole conference on. Right, thank you all so much. Wish you a wonderful day. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premānande Haribo.